Chaplain Cat with Tro Bass Series. I'm coming to you today to give you my June top, I'm gonna say 5, possibly 6 favorite baits to throw. When I take a charter out with PTSD recovery programs, I try to teach more than I do fish. I believe that if you're doing a charter, then you're there more to learn techniques on how to better fish when you're on your own than to go out and catch fish. And I'm not a big advocate of guides that take guys out, or women, to solely catch fish, because I mean that can be pretty easy. There are fisheries in the area that guides know that we can take someone and they're going to land a fish. But if we teach them how to use certain techniques, or teach them how to use sonar, the electronics, or just being able to use our eyes to see where the fish are located, that helps the fisherman be a better fisherman in the future. And the future catches are the best catches. So today I'm gonna go over a couple of baits that I use this time of year. June is one of my favorite times. It's a hard time because the water is getting hotter. The temperatures of the water are getting in their 80s and up, and it's going to stay that way from now until about September, October in Georgia lakes where I am. The South is already in the summer transition. Spawn is over with, post-spawn is done, and now we're in our summer. The fish have moved off the shallows for the most part. There are still some fish in the shallows, but the majority of the fish are moving out, going into the deeper waters where it's a little bit cooler, and they're setting in the zones of where it's most comfortable for them. And the first bait that I'm going to throw when I first get to the water, especially if it's early morning or if it is late evening, is I'm going to throw some type of topwater. Now, as many of you know that fish with me, I'm a huge fan of the Berkley Chopo. I use keep it real simple when it comes to the Chopo. I like the 120 and I like the 90. I have fished with the smaller ones, but I like those two, the 90 or the 120. And the two colors that I do use 3 on occasion, but my two main colors are Bone or Maverick. You got a white color and you got a dark color, and depending on the time of day it is, depending on the cloud cover, depending on how the water looks, the visibility of the water, that's what I'm throwing. The Chopo makes an incredible sound coming across the water, and it makes that reaction made. It'll make fish come up from 20 feet under, come up to the top to slam that bait. So it's one of my favorite baits to use. The next bait that I'm going to throw is a crankbait. Now this crankbait is actually this is a Monster Bass Rolo, and it has a spade bill, so it gives it a very unique, and it also has the skirt on it is very, it's got that feathered skirt, so it gives the fish a little bit something different to look at. This color is like a sexy shad blueback color, and it produces some good catches. It dives down about, depending on what my setup is. If I got 10 pound test up to 14 pound test, I can kind of get it down into that 9-7 range. So if I've got fish that are on my sonar that are suspended down at about there, the roosters are going crazy behind me, so I apologize. And that's something I like to throw, and I like to throw it near stumps. I'm not afraid of getting hung up. If I get hung up, I get hung up. I'd rather get hung up on a fish that's protecting itself up against that brush, that structure, and take my chances. I can always retrieve my bait with a bait retriever, or sometimes you just have to bite your losses and lose the lure to catch the fish. But being a crankbait guy, this time of year, it is imperative to know how to use a deep, I can't get my hands straight, I'm sorry, use a deep diving crankbait. This deep diving crankbait right there. That sucker dives down to about 12 to 15 depending on the line size. And this one, I mean, this is made by Badass Baits. My go-to bait when it comes to a crankbait is a Badass Baits. I've actually got a signature series with Badass Baits called the Reaper. I've won several tournaments with that color. It's a bluegill color. It's got chartreuse and orange and a little bit of red, but it looks like a bluegill. And man, I think it produces fish in the boat for me. So you can get that at a deep diving. You can get it at a 1.0, 1.5, a 2.0, and dive anything from 1 to 5 feet to 5 feet to 10 feet, 10 feet and beyond, depending on which dive you get. And every one of them have this really nice sound to them. So Badass Baits is an excellent custom-made bait company out of Georgia. Patrick Gray is an amazing artist, and he just really goes to town. Another color that I do like to throw is this crawfish color that Badass Baits creates, and then that's another deep diver. If I'm trying to get a little bit deeper, I will throw this is a 20 to 25 foot diver in the chartreuse and blueback. That's a great color to throw because, you know, when you're 20 feet down underwater, the color, the visibility is different. So, you know, that color really attracts some fish. This is a Berkeley dredger, and this thing dives down 25 beyond, and that color is, it's got some great color to it, and it causes a reaction. That's like a sexy shad on steroids right there. I mean, that thing is it's a pretty bait, and I've had a lot of success with this specific bait. I mean, this, as you can tell, this was actually tied on at one point, and still has some line on it, but I've used it 1,000 times, and it's got some battle scars on it because I have brought some good fish into the boat. Another lure that I will use, this is a chatterbait. Everybody knows what a chatterbait is, and I like to put a paddle tail on there and throw some chartreuse dip on the tail of my paddle tail. That wiggle in the water with that chatterbait, man, it makes some good vibration, and it causes those fish to react, and it drives them crazy. So I'm going to throw that during certain times of my day. Actually, to be honest with you, I'll throw a chatterbait all day long and all year long, really. It's not just summer. Of course, the next bait is going to be a shaky head. It's going to be a shaky head. I'll throw a shaky head all the time. This one is a Yum motor oil with chartreuse tail. Great color in my waters. You really can't go wrong with a shaky head. You can throw a shaky head all the time, in my opinion, and you can put fish in the boat. The retrieve is shaky head retrieve. Throw it in and shake that head, and let the reel. Don't use the reel to bring the line in. You use your rod as you're shaking it, and then as you reel down, you're bringing it in, get it up to the boat, toss it back out, throw it into some cover, throw it into some flats on the ledges, and fish love the shaky head. It seemed like I talked more about that deep diving crankbait than I did anything else, but I did that I guess because to me, crankbaits, that's my go-to anyway. And a deep dive crankbait will, once you find those schools, because what happens is the fish that have been spawning, they come off a spawn for the summer transition, and they find them some spots and they school up, and you can throw that deep diving crankbait down in there and get inside their water column, and you can stir them up and make them go crazy, and then you'll just start producing fish into your boat left and right. It's happened 1,000 times for me, and I've really had a lot of success with the crankbait, so therefore I talk about crankbaits more than anything else, I guess. But another bait that I love to throw, and it's nothing really new. My grandfather called this this rig the Gypsy Rig or the Romy Rig, and it is a oversized beetle spin. All that is a oversized beetle spin. If you think of the beetle spins that we all started fishing with, most likely, and you put a 4 to 6 inch grub paddle tail shad on there. I like anything that's got some chartreuse on it. This one kind of mimics a bluegill. It's got some sparkles in it. Gets down in there. That beetle spin runs real nice and tight over the top of the fish and of the bait, and it creates a reaction bait that you just really can't beat. It's stuck on a tree right there, so I had to yank it out of there. Don't you just love that? But pretty much everything that I use, my setups, I'm not going to get into. I'm an Abu Garcia guy. So I use the Abu Garcia Max Pros and the Revos. Those are my main setups. I do use a Abu Garcia 6-4-1 setup. That's just the Black Max. That's your base level Abu Garcia, and it's a really good bait caster to use with crankbaits, with the Gypsy Rig. It's a little bit slower, and it allows you to slow that retrieve down, and gives you the opportunity to work the bait a little bit different. But I do use a higher ratio when it comes to my other lures that I use, because I want to be able to catch up to that fish. I want my speed on my gear ratio to enable me to catch up that fish that hits that bait and is coming towards me, so that I don't lose them and I can set the hook correctly. So anyway, I encourage you guys to go out there and encourage somebody, show them how to fish, teach them something new, and just enjoy time in God's great, wonderful atmosphere. I spend a lot of time on the water, and I write a lot of my sermons on the water, and I really enjoy seeing people grow. So for me, seeing somebody learn how to fish with a new technique is an awesome thing to me. So God bless you. Remember that we love you, but more important that God loves you. I'll see you on the water. Keep those lines tight.